today we're gonna do one of my favorite things to do with the new grill, and that's the biscuit test. We're gonna spread some of these biscuits out on a couple of trays and put them in there and see how it cooks. Now, every grill has its hot and cold spots. This Z grill here, which is the 10502B, is a new one for me, and I haven't figured out where the hot and cold spots are. I tried to cook a pizza in it, and I found one of the hot spots because, well, the hot spot got the best of me because I walked off and came back and it was burned in one area. So what we need to know is we need to know if there's a hot spot, where it is, or maybe it was just a setup error by me. But we're gonna go ahead and put these on a couple of trays and then throw them in there for convenience. I like to put them in on the trays because then we can pull them and load them all at once. I spread them out before, and I think that what happens is the ones that you put in first tend to cook the best, and the ones that you put in last usually end up undercooked. If you put them on a cooling rack or something like that, you can throw them all in at one time. Right here, I have 30 biscuits, and I like to use 12 per shelf, and I'll go ahead and put them all in because why not? So give me a minute to load those trays and I'll be right back. So I've returned and I have 2 trays of biscuits just like this. And these are store brand, so I gotta admit, they look pretty wonky to me, but I'm hoping that that won't affect the quality of the test. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss those 2 trays in. I'll throw the one in and then you can check me throw the other one in a minute. So I'll put that right down here at the bottom. And this one on the middle. And I might do a test on the upper shelf at another time, but I'm not worried about that because likelihood is there won't be a lot of cooking going on that top shelf on a regular basis anyway. It's most likely that most of my cooking will be on the middle shelf. That's really where I prefer to work in any smoker. It doesn't matter whether it's this one or something else. I get the most consistent results in those middle shelves. What I did do was I set the smoker at 275 and it's been hovering around 271 to 275. I did put in my external thermometer and it's reading a little higher than what the temperature gauge is on the smoker itself, but that doesn't mean that it's not a little out of calibration. Now, I want to be able to have a baseline and something to go against, and that's why I added that other thermometer, just so I can see a manual reaction. This has a PID, and that's going to take a little bit of time to tune itself in. So make sure that when you're using a smoker that has a PID, that you preheat it. The longer you preheat it, and when I say the longer, I mean an hour, the better. If you preheat it for 5 minutes and then throw your stuff in, you're gonna have temperature swings. That's what a PID does, is it's trying to tune itself in, and if you give it a little bit of time, it will perform better over that period of time. Now it's just basically solving a math problem, and it's calculating all the variables to do so. So we're gonna go ahead and run this, and I'm actually going to pause the cameras for about, I'm gonna say it's gonna be 7 to 10 minutes, and then we'll pull these off and see how they look. So we're back. I went ahead and set a timer on my phone, and then I checked on it, and a couple of the biscuits on the edge looked like they were pretty crispy. So I went back in the house and grabbed this glove, which will allow them all to get a little crispy. So this is one of my Weber hot gloves, and I love these things. So I was talking about this one like over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this tray off, and this is on the bottom. The ones on the top just don't look very dark yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull them anyway, just because we want an even comparison. Now literally, just look on the bottom here, and they're not crispy at all. They probably could use another like 3 or 4 minutes, but now that I've pulled them, we really have to just go with what we have here in the test. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll take a 60-second break and then I'll be right back. So I did bring out these tongs, but I honestly don't think I'm really gonna need them. So I'm just gonna set them aside. If we do need them, we do need them. So I'm gonna grab this one right here, and for reference, this is the lower front corner, and you can see it's got a little bit of crispy brown on it, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop it open, and it looks warm, it looks done, it doesn't look burnt. So I'm not sampling these to find out whether or not like they're amazing or not, because they're just store brand biscuits. But what I'm doing is trying to get an idea of how the cooking process went, and I wanted to take a bite of that one. And it was a little crispy around the edges, but it wasn't gross or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip all of these over. So the bottom tray is cool enough to touch. It's still kind of hot, but I'm gonna go ahead and show that to you and point out what we got going on here. This is the side nearest the hopper. This one here was the most well done, and then by this one, and then the rest of these. Over here, we can visibly see that we have a lot less heat right in this area. Now, this is not unusual for a pellet smoker at all. Pellet smokers tend to have these patterns that you just need to figure out. Now, this is the bottom tray. And again, I wouldn't normally cook on the bottom tray. I would throw in like a drip pan to catch, you know, drippings, especially if I'm doing brisket or something, because I want to save as much of that as possible. And in a pellet smoker, that'll be a little bit less smoky than like a offset or something like that. So those drippings will be very useful. You can use them for gravy, or you could use them to flavor a soup or something. Now this is the top tray, and what I want you to notice is that while this side and this side was hot on that one, it's not on this. Your heat is actually the opposite. So you've got more heat on this side. So like if you laid them down on that, you'll see it here. They don't want to stay on the tray, but you kind of had a pattern to where it's almost exactly the opposite. And I don't know how much of that you'll be able to see, but on the top shelf, we got the heat over here, and on the bottom shelf, we got the heat over here, and you can see darker, lighter, and on the bottom, exactly the opposite. And one biscuit fell on the ground. Oopsie. So this is a really interesting test. So from my perspective, I'm gonna cook on the upper shelf kind of towards the hopper. And that's gonna be where I'm gonna go, and it'll give me the mildest, lightest temperatures that will be the most controllable and most consistent. Now again, I do plan on putting in a cookie sheet and testing this a little bit more. And anytime you add a cookie sheet or anything in there, or sheet pan, you will get a heat sink effect, and the distribution of the heat will change a little bit. Keep that in mind, and then go on with whatever you're gonna do. Now, I am considering getting a little bit of butter and a little bit of honey and eating this biscuit right here. Not a big biscuit fan, but fresh biscuits, even store brand, are definitely good. This has been the Z-Grill 10502B Wi-Fi model, and it is part of the crowdfunding rewards program. You can select this smoker or whatever one in the list that you like, and then you pay for this one at regular price plus shipping, and then you get 10 more every 5 years for the next 50 years, and all you pay is shipping. So check that program out. That program is pretty awesome. And of course, I am an affiliate, so I will get a commission if you get into that program. But there's also other things in the description, like the pellet. I am using the Z-Grill cherry pellets, and they are very nice, mild flavor. I've really enjoyed the smell of them and just tasting them on the biscuits. It's been really nice. Again, Z-Grill provided this stuff to me at no charge, so I could share the crowdfunding rewards program with you, and I really appreciate that. So thanks to Z Grill, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.